This is E&P Reports, a vodcast from Editor and Publisher Magazine, the authoritative voice of news media since 1884, serving newspapers, broadcast, digital, and all forms of news publishing.
And greetings once again. I'm Mike Linder, publisher of E&P Magazine. As always, we kick off urging those that listen to this program on a podcast platform to please follow. Those that choose to watch us on our YouTube channel, please subscribe. Both ways. You should get updates each and every time we upload a new episode of this weekly vodcast series we dedicate to news publishing. We call E&P Reports. Bob Cohn, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mike. Happy to be here.
So nice to revisit our friends at the Baltimore Banner. Sharon Nevins, it's good to have you on board.
Thank you, Mike. Good to be here.
It's an honor. Now, we have a tradition here at E&P. Since every other story we report on has something to do with AI, we now ask ChatGPT who you are and then tell you who you are according to it, and then you rate its accuracy. Bob, are you ready? Here's what ChatGPT says about you. It says you're an American journalist, media executive, and starting in February 2024, you became CEO of the Baltimore Banner, a nonprofit news organization. Prior to that, from 2020 to 2024, you were at The Economist, overseeing global business performance and spearheading digital growth. Before that, you were at president of the Atlantic. You were a lot of places, president of the Atlantic. Your editorial experience includes serving as an executive editor at Wired and working as the Washington correspondent for Newsweek. Is this correct, sir?
That all sounds pretty correct. Thanks. Thank you, ChatGPT.
Okay, now Sharon, I know that Bob is kind of your boss, but your profile in ChatGPT is 3 times as long. Did you know that, Sharon? I mean, it says here.
You know that darn AI.
Chief Revenue Officer at the Baltimore Banner, a nonprofit news organization. We already covered that. Before joining the Banner in November 2022, you were Vice President of Advertising at the Baltimore Sun Media Group, where you directed sales and marketing efforts. Your career also includes position as Director of Sales and Marketing at Baltimore Magazine and Director of Marketing and Fundraising at WYPR, Baltimore's NPR affiliate. Here's something else I found out. You are a graduate of GW. So am I.
Really?
Yeah, but I'm much older than you. I graduated in the class of 1979, and I was president of the SIE fraternity. But I do know that the Red Lion is still there. I went back with my family, and my graffiti in the men's room wall is still. I didn't go to Yale, though.
We're closer in age than you think, Mike.
Anyway, the reason we have 2 amazingly powerful executives from the Banner is we're going to dive into it. The Banner has had what at least news reports are showing an incredible 2024. Now that we're turning the page into a new year, I want to learn how that success took place, what their plans are in the future, and I'm going to ask our audience to hold on because we'll get to that right after this.
This episode of E&P Reports is exclusively sponsored by Blocks Digital, formerly Town News. Even though the name has changed, their commitment to the media industry is as strong as ever. Blocks Digital is now even better positioned to deliver integrated solutions like content management, audience development, advertising revenue, video management, and more. Join the over 2,000 news publishers worldwide that power their ongoing digital transformation with Blocks Digital, serving over 141 million monthly users who view over 6.5 billion pages of content each year. You can trust Blocks Digital to empower you, to connect you at scale with the community you need to reach. Blocks Digital, formerly Town News, now reimagined to help meet the news publishing challenges of tomorrow and beyond. Learn more at blocksdigital.com.
Okay, let's start off. Guys, I don't know who wants to take this question. You can fight over it, but correct me if I'm wrong. You guys had a major push in paid subscribers. The newsrooms, what do you got? 54,000 plus paid subscribers and a 50% year-over-year growth rate. How did you do this? Are these numbers accurate? Do you truly have that many paid subscribers now? Bob?
Yes, those numbers are right. We finished the year at about 55,000 paid subscribers, which was a hair more than 50% year over year growth. We're a relatively young organization, just 2.5 years old. So you can have that kind of high percentage year over year, but we still feel that it was really a nice, strong performance. And subscriptions is one of our major pillars of revenue. So seeing that growth is a big part of our business success in our early days right now. And it just comes on the back of trying to do the best journalism we can do with some sophisticated marketing and filling a gap in Baltimore and surrounding really all of Maryland now, where there are news deserts and there's a hunger for local news that's trustworthy and independent and has the energy that we have.
Well, you're not only, I'm going to stay with Bob for a second. Sharon, hum to yourself. And Bob, you not only grew subscribers, you're growing your newsroom. You've added 13 newsroom hires since September. Is your total at 85? And who are you now? Are you the voice of Baltimore? Are you the voice of Maryland? Are you the voice of both? And how do you prioritize that team? And what is your focus?
So those numbers are right. We're at about 85 in the newsroom. That makes us the largest news organization in Maryland. We were founded and are still centered on Baltimore. That is the soul of our journalism. That's where we're headquartered, right on Pier 4, across from on the Inner Harbor, across from the
Yeah, I've been there.
aquarium.
Beautiful facility. Great
Great
place.
location.
Nice guy.
But we are committed to serving first Baltimore, secondly the surrounding counties of Baltimore, especially Baltimore County, and your viewers and readers may know, and Arundel County, which is where the state capital is, and Howard County, which is a very large community halfway between Baltimore and Washington, D.C. And I suspect as we talk about where we're going in the future, we'll continue to move into other regions of Maryland. So we really want to be Maryland's news organization, but we are centered in Baltimore.
Sharon, I know you got that background in public radio, so I know you know how to hold a tin cup and bag philanthropy, but you have many revenue streams there. I mean, we had MTIs on this program. You're a business. You sell advertising, right? I mean, you're full bore on all streams of revenue. Is that
We we
correct?
we absolutely are, Mike. Yes, that's correct. And I really head up the ad revenue and our event revenue. So events and advertising have become a really huge and important source of revenue for the Baltimore Banner. Of course, you mentioned philanthropy, which we also do. But under my helm is the ad revenue and the event revenue, and it's just flourishing. I mean, we are just, getting a great response from the community to our journalism, of course. And the brand alignment with the storytelling is really proving to be quite beneficial for our advertisers.
I don't want to pick on the Sun, but we have done extensive reporting on the changes there lately, and we're not going to make this a trash the Sun interview, but obviously they've taken a completely different slant. Is the hole being filled, in your opinion, now properly by the Banner? Are you feeling the love from the local advertising community as much as from the readership, Sharon, if I may ask?
I have to say we really are. There's no question about it. I mean, I would go so far also as to say that the engagement rates with our ads online is quite high, above publisher industry standards. So I think we are filling that hole. And we are actually, I have uniquely positioned this team to not just sell advertising on the banner, but to be a full service sort of agency approach to our clients in the market. And that's really important because, clients have a number of KPIs, right? And they need to meet a number of goals that include branding, but also direct ROI, of course. We're all held to a pretty high standard when it comes to, is your advertising working it for us? And the way to do that is to be able to operate on multiple, digital levels in the ecosystem. And we're able to do that. So whereas the Baltimore Banner is our primary vehicle, we can also go offsite for them. So yes, I would say in that regard, we are filling a really important need in the community.
Bob, I dropped his. I said Imtiaz. Let me to update our audience. Imtiaz Patel was your predecessor. I had him and Stuart Bainham, the multimillionaire that helped finance, and we went over the whole story of your birth on this program. We featured the banners right after your opening on our cover of E&P. You were our cover story a couple of years ago. But one of the things Imtiaz did, I actually had him on a stage at a conference I was hosting, is and I want to bring, this is a true story. He said, when after I was there for a while, I fired someone, and then people came in my office and said, "You can't fire anyone." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because you're a nonprofit, and nonprofits don't fire people." And he said, "No, we're a business." You come similar to Imtiaz, you come from the business side, Bob. You're now running a nonprofit organization. How do you straddle that line? Are you looking like, because MTI was all about revenue, and being profitable and sustainable. Is that your mantra, if I may ask, Bob, as the leader of this organization?
Well, I think that we're a nonprofit by artifact of tax law. It's important that philanthropy be one of the legs of our of revenue for us. And in order to accept donations and gifts, it helps to be a nonprofit so people can make tax deductible donations to us. We run the place as if it's a for-profit, in that we are very much interested in someday making more revenue than we spend. For now, trying to close that gap, right? We're a startup, so we're still spending more than we earn. But between the advertising and events that Sharon runs, between our subscription business, which is growing nicely, as you pointed out, and between the philanthropy arm that we rely on, we are getting closer and closer to closing that gap. And so I do come out of a commercial background. And I should say, before all that, I come out of a journalism background for most of my career. And it's essential that we have a commercial minded approach while still adhering really closely to our civic mission, which is, to inform and strengthen and inspire the communities that we serve. So we have a nonprofit heart, but maybe a for-profit brain. I've never thought of it that way before, but something like that.
No, with the famous quote that I think it was an Imtiaz or on this program, they said, no margin, no mission, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta make money to do the core competency. Sharon, you've been validated. I'm gonna blow you some smoke, maybe I'll give you a raise. But back in mid-December, I had on this program Gordon Burrell from Burrell Associates. I'm assuming you're familiar.
I am.
They track all the advertising, over the last 20 years, and the latest and greatest data was just released from 2024, and for the first time in years, events is clipping social media as the number one local advertiser spend. It was funny how you said that word 4 or 5 times. You're seeing that, aren't you? That it's advertisers want to build those relationships, and you're able to bring the buyers and sellers together. Am I correct?
Very much so. I cannot say enough about the importance of events. And maybe it's because COVID sort of shut the world down. And then and people were trying to do, everything virtually, and some people were trying to do virtual events, and nobody really loved that. I mean, certainly people in the business didn't love it, but clients didn't love it either. And then we all of a sudden, had this desire to really be in a room together. And what events offer is that, like, we bring the key players to the table at our events, and our sponsors love the opportunity to have that one-on-one interaction with the community. And we check off all these boxes because they get all the digital media that goes around with the sponsoring an event.
Of course.
But the biggest piece of it is that one-on-one connection and that ability to talk to somebody who you would never otherwise have that opportunity. That's the biggest selling feature and the thing we hear the most from our clients.
From one ad guy to another, I got to ask you this. As your ad revenue goes, one of the challenges our industry has had, and you may disagree with me, and we can get a beer. That I always said that when I entered this industry obliquely from radio, I was a radio manager that put one of the first newspapers online in the dark ages. That's how I got into the newspaper industry. I used to say it was a fat and lazy industry because everything was demand driven. It was all agency based. We had rate cards no one could understand. We really weren't out in the trenches, mixing it up with local advertisers. Do you have a good balance of national versus local? Where is your priority when you're training up your sales force? Because you come from the side where you understand how important that is, correct? That local contact with advertisers.
I do. And honestly, at the Baltimore Banner, we are very hyper local. The business was founded to be hyper local, hiring journalists in not just in Baltimore City, but in neighborhoods in Baltimore City. And so our approach to advertising actually reflects our content. It's we're the place for local businesses to really thrive and to have their brands really sing because no one else is really doing exclusively local content. So the answer is we're not doing a lot of national business at this moment. It's all about making the local companies shine.
Bob, I'm going to swing it back to you. We're running out of time. It's now time for me to go up to 50,000 feet with you, sir. Congratulations on the year. Can you tell me how 2024 closed out? You don't have to reveal, data points if you don't want to or exact numbers, but give us how 2024 end, and more importantly, your plans for 2025. Is that okay if I ask you?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. We finished the year. We're still closing the books on December, but we will have finished the year about 36% up on revenue year over year. And as we said before, a little bit more than 50% on subscriptions. All of our principal revenue lines, subscriptions, advertising, events, philanthropy, saw growth and are huge contributors. I like that we have four legs of the stool. I've been around this business long enough where there was too much reliance on advertising, and then along comes a duopoly and everything, and it takes away your ad revenue, and there's a desperate flight to subscriptions. We started as a subscription business along with these other streams, so we have that kind of belt and suspender approach to our revenue, and we see all four of those legs continuing to grow this year in 25. And a lot of that will be continued execution of our coverage and our kind of bread and butter work in Baltimore City, but we are definitely focused on the rest of Maryland as well, on the counties around Baltimore, but also the State House and counties that might be closer to Washington, D.C. Maryland has, like the entire country, is filled with news deserts. And one of the things that we're trying to do is serve those news deserts.
The good news in this interview is it's an amazing good story to kick off the year with. So I thank both of you. The bad news is that you've created about 20 really amazing pull quotes for me, and having to find the right one's going to be really hard because both of you have given such great wisdom here. Bob Cohn, CEO, Sharon Nevins, CRO of the Baltimore Banner. A, thank you for your time because I know you're both busy, and B, please come back later in the year and give us an update. We really appreciate everything you shared with us today.
Likewise, Mike, it's been a pleasure. And I think Bob would agree. We'd love to come back.
I hope we'll come back if the story's still good, Mike. How's that? Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, Mike.